At the engagement banquet, I was wearing a wedding dress worth $1 million, yet in the bathroom, I overheard the conversation I least wanted to hear. "Brother Jason, are you really going to marry Clara?" Bianca's voice carried a sobbing tone. "Bianca, you know that I love only you. However, the Chu family's industries are too important to the Xiao family. I must marry her." Jason's voice was very soft, yet it cut into my heart like a knife. "But I can't bear to part with you. Once I secure my position as the heir to the Xiao family, I'll find a way to divorce her. Then we can be together openly." I leaned against the bathroom door panel, feeling the world spinning. From childhood to adulthood, everyone said that Jason and I were a match made in heaven. Our families were old acquaintances, we were childhood sweethearts, and we were well matched in social status. But who could have imagined that this marriage envied by all was nothing more than a transaction in his eyes? "Clara, are you in there? The guests are all waiting for you." My best friend Lynn's voice came from outside. I took a deep breath, composed my expression, and walked out. "What's wrong? Your face looks so pale?" Lynn looked at me with concern. "Nothing, probably just nervous." I forced a smile. Back in the banquet hall, Jason was chatting and laughing with the guests. Seeing me, he walked over and naturally put his arm around my waist. "Clara, where did you go? I've been looking for you for a long time." His smile was perfectly flawless. I looked at him and suddenly felt he was very unfamiliar. This person who had grown up with me since childhood, when had he become so hypocritical? "I went to touch up my makeup," I said calmly. The banquet continued, and I cooperated with all the procedures like a puppet. Until Anthony was about to announce the wedding date, a low voice rang out. "Grandpa, I oppose this marriage." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a tall figure walking from the back of the banquet hall. It was Ethan, the illegitimate son of the Xiao family, Jason's half-brother from the same father but different mother. He was wearing a black suit, with a cold and stern face, exuding a dangerous yet charming aura. Completely different from Jason's gentle and refined demeanor, he had a wild charm about him. The banquet hall instantly fell into dead silence. "Ethan, what nonsense are you talking about?" Anthony's face turned ashen. Ethan walked to the stage, his gaze sweeping between Jason and me, finally fixing on my face. "Because the bride does not love the groom." His voice was very soft, yet it clearly reached everyone's ears. My heartbeat suddenly accelerated. How did he know? Jason's face changed. "Ethan, don't make trouble here." "Making trouble?" Ethan sneered. "Then let me ask you, does what you said to Bianca outside the bathroom just now count as making trouble?" Jason's face instantly turned pale. The guests began whispering, and I saw Bianca hiding in the crowd, her face equally ugly. "Brother Ethan." I spoke softly. From childhood to adulthood, I had always been very curious about this mysterious eldest young master of the Xiao family. He was 3 years older than Jason, and due to his illegitimate status, he rarely appeared in formal occasions. But every time I saw him, I would feel an indescribable flutter in my heart. "Have you thought it through?" Ethan walked up to me, his voice only audible to the two of us. I looked into his deep eyes and suddenly understood something. "I've thought it through." I took a deep breath, turned to face all the guests. "Ethan is right, I don't love Jason." The banquet hall completely erupted. "Clara, are you crazy?" Jason grabbed my arm. "I'm not crazy, I just don't want to deceive myself anymore." I shook off his hand. "From today on, our engagement is null and void." After saying that, I took off the diamond ring on my hand and threw it on the ground. Anthony trembled with anger. "Clara, do you know what you're doing?" "I know." I looked at Ethan. "I want to go with him." A flash of surprise passed through Ethan's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by appreciation. "Good." He extended his hand. "Then come with me." I grasped his hand without hesitation. At that moment, I felt an unprecedented sense of freedom. Ethan led me out of the banquet hall, with chaotic voices behind us. "Clara! Come back here. Ethan!" Are you crazy? She's your brother's fiancé. This is utterly disgraceful for the Xiao family. But neither of us looked back. Ethan's car was parked at the hotel entrance, a low-key black sports car. He opened the passenger door for me. Do you regret it? He asked. No regrets. I got into the car. What about you? Me? Ethan started the car, a smile curling at the corner of his mouth. I couldn't wait to break you two up. Why? He turned his head to look at me, his gaze deep. Because I like you. I've liked you for a long time. My face instantly turned red. How long ago is a long time? 10 years ago, at your 15th birthday banquet. Ethan focused on driving, his voice soft. You were wearing a pink princess dress, standing in the garden feeding the goldfish. The sunlight shone on you, and I knew I would never forget that scene in my life. I was stunned. 10 years ago, I did feed the goldfish at my birthday banquet. Ethan was there too, but he always stood far away. I thought he didn't like playing with us kids. Then why didn't you say anything? Say what? Tell you I like you, and then make you choose between me and Jason? Ethan smiled bitterly. I'm an illegitimate child, I have no right. In my eyes, you've never been an illegitimate child. I said seriously, you're Ethan, the one and only Ethan. The car stopped at the traffic light, and Ethan turned his head to look deeply at me. Clara, do you know what being with me means? What does it mean? It means you'll lose your status as the Chu family's heiress, you'll be ostracized by the entire upper society, and your parents will disown you. His voice was heavy. I can't give you anything. Who says you can't give me anything? I held his hand. You've given me courage, given me the chance to escape that cage. That's more precious than anything. Ethan stared at me blankly, with an emotion in his eyes that I couldn't understand. Have you really thought it through? Yes. I nodded. What about you? Are you willing to take a heiress abandoned by her family? Silly. Ethan gently stroked my cheek. What I want has never been the Chu family's heiress, what I want is Clara. The green light came on, and Ethan restarted the car. Where are we going? I asked. To my place. Your place? I have a villa in the suburbs, very quiet, no one will disturb us. The car drove out of the city, the night wind blowing in through the window, carrying the scent of grass. I suddenly realized how little I knew about Ethan. I knew he was the illegitimate son of the Xiao family, knew he rarely appeared in public, but what he did usually, where he lived, what he liked, I knew nothing. Brother Ethan, what do you usually do? Business. Ethan said simply. What kind of business? Some businesses that Anthony looks down on. His tone was somewhat sarcastic, entertainment industry, internet technology, and some investments. Then you want to ask if I have money, right? Ethan saw through my concerns. Don't worry, I can afford to support you. That's not what I meant. I know it's not. Ethan reached out to hold my hand, but I want you to know, even if the whole world doesn't want you, I do. My heart was struck hard. This man, how can he always say such things? The villa was halfway up the mountain, the environment indeed very quiet. The house wasn't large, but it was decorated with great taste, showing the owner's care everywhere. Are you hungry? I'll make you something to eat. Ethan took off his jacket. You can cook? I was a bit surprised. Living outside for a long time, you have to learn to take care of yourself. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing strong arms. You go take a shower first, change into comfortable clothes. There are new clothes in the wardrobe in the master bedroom upstairs. Why do you have women's clothes? I asked suspiciously. Ethan was stunned, then burst into laughter. I had my assistant buy them, they were delivered yesterday. Yesterday? I decided to abduct you yesterday. He said matter-of-factly. My face turned red, and I ran upstairs like escaping. The master bedroom was large, decorated in cool tones, very fitting for Ethan's personality. There were indeed several sets of women's clothes in the wardrobe, the sizes just right. I casually picked a set of casual clothes to change into, and as I was about to go downstairs, my phone suddenly rang. It was Jason. I hesitated for a moment but still answered. Clara, where are you? Come back quickly, let's talk properly. Jason's voice was urgent. There's nothing to talk about, I said indifferently. You must be acting on impulse, we've grown up together since childhood, could all these years of feelings be fake? Jason, you know in your heart what's real and what's fake. I sneered, and please don't contact me anymore. Clara. Were you threatened by Ethan? Don't you know what kind of person he is? He's just an illegitimate child, he'll never amount to anything. Enough. I said angrily, Jason, you're not qualified to talk about him. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked Jason's number. When I went downstairs, Ethan had already prepared the meal. Simple 3 dishes and 1 soup, but it looked very appetizing. What's wrong? Your face looks so bad? He keenly noticed the change in my mood. Jason called. I said truthfully. Ethan's face instantly darkened. What did he say? Nothing, just some irrelevant words. I didn't want their brotherly relationship to worsen because of me. Clara. Ethan put down his chopsticks and looked at me seriously. From now on, tell me about anything, don't bear it alone. I nodded, feeling warm inside. At this moment, I suddenly felt that perhaps my choice was right. The next morning, I was woken up by various phone calls. First my mom, Clara, what are you doing? Hurry home. Then my dad, rebellious daughter. Do you know how much face you've lost for the Chu family with your behavior yesterday? Then Lynn, Clara, are you really with Ethan? I hung up one by one, and finally just turned off the phone. Ethan brought breakfast upstairs, seeing my worried face, gently asked, what's wrong? My parents want me to go home. I sighed, this time I might really fall out with my family. Do you regret it? No regrets. I shook my head, just a bit unaccustomed. From childhood to adulthood, I've never defied my parents' wishes. Ethan sat by the bed, gently stroking my hair. Clara, do you know why I haven't been willing to return to the Xiao family all these years? Why? Because in that home, I'm always superfluous. I have to live cautiously, can't make mistakes, can't be ostentatious, can't even express my true thoughts. There was an indescribable fatigue in his eyes. That feeling is like being locked in an exquisite cage. I looked at him, a surge of heartache rising in me. But now it's different. Ethan held my hand. I have someone I want to protect, I have motivation to strive for. Brother Ethan. Clara, I know you're uneasy now, but please believe me, I'll give you the life you want. His gaze was firm, inexplicably reassuring me. After breakfast, Ethan took me to his company. You're going to work, isn't it inconvenient to bring me? I was a bit embarrassed. What's inconvenient about it? Ethan said matter-of-factly, from now on, you're my boss lady. Boss lady? My face turned red. Ethan's company was in an office building in the city center, larger in scale than I imagined. The employees were very respectful when they saw him, but their eyes were full of curiosity when they saw me. This is Miss Clara. Ethan introduced simply, from now on, she's our boss lady. Me. Employees. Boss, this is. The assistant asked cautiously. The proposal was successful yesterday. Ethan lied calmly. I widened my eyes looking at him. How can this man be so thick-skinned? Congratulations, boss. Congratulations, boss lady. The employees congratulated one after another. I was pulled into the office by Ethan. How can you say that nonsense? I protested softly. Where's the nonsense? Ethan sat in the boss chair, pulling me into his arms. I am indeed pursuing you, and you did agree. But we haven't confirmed our relationship yet. Confirm it now. Ethan looked down at me. Clara, be my girlfriend. My heart was beating fast, almost jumping out of my chest. Does this count as courtship? Yes. Then I'll think about it. Before I finished, Ethan lowered his head and kissed me. His kiss was domineering, with an undeniable force. I was kissed until I was dizzy, almost forgetting to breathe. "Have you thought it through now?" he asked against my lips. "Yes." My voice was as small as a mosquito's. "What?" "I can't hear." "I've thought it through," I said loudly, then shyly buried myself in his arms. Ethan laughed, his voice low and sexy. At that moment, the office door was pushed open. "Ethan, we need to talk." I looked up, it was Jason. His face was gloomy, eyes burning with anger. Ethan protected me, looking at him coldly. "Who let you in?" "Clara, come back with me, our engagement still stands." Jason completely ignored Ethan, speaking directly to me. "I've made it very clear, it's over between us." I stood up from Ethan's arms. "Are you angry because of what happened yesterday?" "I can cut ties with Bianca." Jason looked sincere. "Clara, we've grown up together since childhood, can you just forget all these years of feelings?" "Jason, don't you think saying these words now is ridiculous?" I sneered. "You never had me in your heart, why bother acting here?" "How could I not have you in my heart?" Enough." Ethan stood up, walked in front of Jason. "Clara is already my girlfriend, you'd better stop while you can." "Girlfriend?" Jason couldn't believe it. "How long have you known each other?" "She was still my fiancé yesterday." "Time isn't the issue." Ethan said indifferently, "What's important is that she chose me." Jason's face became even uglier. "Ethan, don't think that taking Clara away means you've won. You'll always be an illegitimate child, never amounting to anything." "Is that so?" Ethan narrowed his eyes, a dangerous aura emanating from him. "Then do you want to see just how much strength this illegitimate child who can't amount to anything has?" After saying that, he picked up the intercom on the desk. "Assistant Devon, have the legal department prepare. I want to acquire shares in the Xiao group." Jason's face changed drastically. "Are you crazy?" "I'm not crazy, I'm just protecting my woman." Ethan sneered. "Since the Xiao family can't tolerate me, then I'll turn the Xiao family into my Ethans." I looked at Ethan in shock, not expecting him to have such boldness. Jason trembled with anger, pointing at us, unable to speak. Finally, he viciously threw down, "You'll regret this." Then slammed the door and left. The office quieted down. I looked at Ethan. "Was what you said just now true?" "Of course it's true." Ethan sat back down. "I've wanted to do this for a long time, just never had the right opportunity." "Then your strength." "Enough to buy the entire Xiao family," Ethan said lightly. I was completely shocked. This man, how many secrets does he still have? The news of Ethan acquiring the Xiao group spread quickly, and the entire business world was speculating about the reasons behind it. I sat in Ethan's office, watching the financial news reports about this matter, my feelings mixed. "Regret it?" Ethan came back from a meeting outside, seeing my worried face. "I just feel that making you completely break with your family because of me, isn't that too selfish?" "Clara." Ethan walked over, squatted in front of me. "My conflict with the Xiao family has been long-standing, it didn't start because of you." "But." "No buts." He held my hand. "Moreover, I've never considered the Xiao family as family. In my heart, you are my family." My eyes instantly reddened. This man, how can he always say such heart-moving words? "Boss, Mr. Henry and Mrs. Linda are here." The assistant knocked and came in. My heart tightened, my parents were here. "Let them in." Ethan stood up, said calmly. Soon, my parents appeared at the office door. My mom cried as soon as she saw me. "Clara, are you trying to anger your mother to death?" My dad was full of anger. "Clara, come home with us immediately." "Dad, Mom." I stood up, somewhat at a loss. "Uncle Henry, Aunt Linda." Ethan greeted politely. "Please sit." "Ethan, what kind of bewitching potion did you give my daughter?" My dad glared at him. "I didn't give Clara any bewitching potion, I just gave her the right to choose." Ethan said calmly. "Choice?" What does a 20-something girl know about choice? My mom wiped her tears. Ethan, Auntie has watched you grow up, you're a good child, but you and Clara are really not suitable. Why not suitable? You're an illegitimate child, your status and position don't match Clara's. Moreover, Jason and Clara grew up together since childhood, they are the true match made in heaven. Hearing this, I couldn't hold back anymore. Mom. How can you say that about brother Ethan? Clara, you're still young, you don't understand. I'm not young. I'm already 23. I said agitatedly, and Jason doesn't love me at all, he loves Bianca. So what? It's normal for men to have a few women outside, as long as he marries you. My dad said indifferently. I could hardly believe what I heard. Dad, what are you saying? I'm talking about reality. Jason is the heir to the Xiao family, marrying him makes you the matriarch of the Xiao family. And Ethan? He's just an illegitimate child, he'll never amount to anything. Enough. I stood up angrily, I won't allow you to talk about brother Ethan like that. Uncle Henry, Aunt Linda. Ethan suddenly spoke, his voice calm. I know you're worried that Clara will suffer following me, but I can guarantee that I'll protect her with my life. What do you have to protect her with? My dad sneered, you, an illegitimate child, what do you have besides a face? Ethan didn't get angry, but picked up a document from the desk and handed it to my dad. What is this? My dad took it doubtfully. Proof of equity in Star Group. Ethan said indifferently, Star Group is a company I built single-handedly, currently valued at 50 billion. My dad's face changed instantly. How is this possible? Additionally, I have some other investments and assets, total assets around 80 billion. Ethan continued, Uncle Henry, do you think someone like me is worthy of Clara? The office was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. My mom looked at Ethan in shock, unable to speak for a long time. I was also completely stunned. 80 billion? What kind of concept is that? Even if you have money, but your background. My dad still wanted to say something. Dad. I interrupted him, enough. In my eyes, brother Ethan is better than anyone. Clara, calm down a bit. I am calm. I took a deep breath. Dad, Mom, I've decided, I want to be with brother Ethan. If you can't accept it, then we'll sever ties. My mom cried even harder instantly. Clara, are you trying to anger your mother to death? Aunt Linda, please don't cry. Ethan handed over tissues. I promise you, I'll take good care of Clara. But being together like this, you'll be laughed at by the entire upper society. My mom sobbed. Let them laugh. I said firmly, I don't care what others think. My dad looked at the document in his hand, then at Ethan, his facial expression constantly changing. Finally, he sighed, Ethan, if you're really determined to marry Clara, then we need to discuss conditions. Dad. I looked at him in disbelief. What conditions? Ethan asked. First, you must publicly acknowledge Clara's identity, can't let her be a secret lover. That's of course. Second, you must give Clara a formal wedding, can't wrong her. I'll give her the grandest wedding in the world. Finally. My dad paused, you must guarantee never to betray Clara. Ethan nodded seriously, I swear on my life, in this lifetime I'll love only Clara. My tears instantly welled up. My mom also stopped crying, looking at us complicatedly. All right. My dad finally compromised, but I have one requirement, you must get engaged first, then you can officially date. Okay. Ethan agreed without hesitation. Just like that, amid the chaos, my relationship with Ethan was acknowledged by my parents. Although the process had some twists, the result was good. The engagement ceremony was scheduled for a month later, at the Chu family's estate. During this month, Ethan officially launched the acquisition of the Xiao Group, shocking the entire business world. Ethan is actually so rich? Lynn looked at the news in shock. Clara, what kind of dumb luck did you have? What dumb luck, this is called having a keen eye. I said proudly. But now outside they're all saying you betrayed Jason for money. My good mood instantly disappeared. Let them say what they want, I don't care. But I care. Ethan walked in from outside, his face somewhat gloomy. What's wrong? I asked worriedly. Someone is spreading rumors online, saying you chose me for money. Ethan sat beside me, and some say I used money to snatch Jason's fiancé. Do you believe these words? Of course I don't, but I don't want others to say that about you. Ethan held my hand. Clara, how about we get married first, skip the engagement? Ah? I was stunned. Why suddenly get married? Because I want everyone to know that you're my Ethan's wife. Whoever dares to say a bad word about you, I'll make them pay. Ethan's eyes flashed with dangerous light, making my heart race. But we've only been dating for a month. Time isn't the issue. Ethan leaned closer to me. Clara, marry me. Does this count as a proposal? I asked, blushing. Yes. Ethan suddenly took out an exquisite ring box from his pocket. Clara, marry me, let me love you for a lifetime. Inside the box was a pink diamond ring, fully 5 carats, sparkling in the sunlight. Oh my God! Lynn exclaimed beside me, how much must this cost? I ignored Lynn's exclamation, just staring blankly at Ethan. Why choose pink? Because 10 years ago, you looked so beautiful in that pink dress. From then on, pink became my favorite color. Ethan said gently. My tears instantly welled up. I do. I said, choking up. Ethan put the ring on me, then kissed me deeply. At that moment, Jason suddenly burst in. Clara! I won't allow you to marry him. Jason looked angry. Jason, enough. I got up from Ethan's arms. We ended long ago. We haven't ended. Jason said agitatedly. Clara, you can't marry him, he's my brother. So what? I sneered. Legally, you have no blood relation. But morally, this doesn't make sense. Morality? I was even angrier. Jason, you have the nerve to talk to me about morality? When you were with Bianca behind my back, why didn't you think about morality? Jason was left speechless by my words. Moreover, I'm solemnly telling you now, I've never loved you. I said word by word, the person I've loved from beginning to end is Ethan. This sentence was like a knife, stabbing hard into Jason's heart. His face instantly turned pale, eyes full of disbelief. This is impossible. You clearly. Clearly what? Clearly clinging to you every day? I sneered. That was because I was forcing myself to fall in love with you. But now I realize, some feelings can't be forced. Jason staggered back, seeming to have suffered a huge blow. Jason. Ethan suddenly spoke, his voice calm. I advise you to give up. Clara is mine, for this lifetime. I won't give up. Jason roared hysterically. Ethan, don't think acquiring the Xiao group means you can do whatever you want. I tell you, I have more moves. After saying that, he turned and ran. What does he want to do? I asked worriedly. No matter what he wants to do, I'll protect you. Ethan held me. Clara, let's get married immediately, give no one a chance to destroy it. Okay. I nodded, I'll listen to you. 3 days later, we got our marriage certificate at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Looking at the little red book, I suddenly had an unreal feeling. Am I really married to Ethan? Regret it? Ethan saw me spacing out and asked nervously. No regrets. I shook my head, just feel too happy, a bit like dreaming. Then let me make you more certain. Ethan suddenly picked me up, kissed me hard on the lips. Clara, you're my wife now. Mrs. Clara. I corrected him, I'm called Mrs. Clara now. Ethan laughed, eyes full of indulgence. Yes, my Mrs. Clara. On the 3rd day of our marriage, trouble came. Jason united with other shareholders of the Xiao family to file a legal lawsuit against Ethan's acquisition, on the grounds of malicious acquisition. Will this work? I asked worriedly. Useless. Ethan calmly drank his coffee. My acquisition process is completely legal, they can't win the lawsuit. Then why is he doing this? To buy time. A trace of coldness flashed in Ethan's eyes. He's waiting for an opportunity. What opportunity? An opportunity to destroy us. As soon as the words fell, Ethan's phone rang. Brother Ethan, bad news. The assistant's urgent voice came from the phone. There are many false reports about you and your wife online. We quickly opened the computer, and sure enough, there were many negative news about us online. Illegitimate son of a wealthy family uses money to tempt sister-in-law to betray brother. Chu family heiress abandons childhood sweetheart for money. Xiao brothers turn against each other, all because of one woman. Each title was extremely vicious, and the accompanying pictures were all of me and Ethan, obviously deliberately done by someone. How did these photos come about? My face turned pale. Probably someone hired paparazzi. Ethan's face was gloomy. Jason, really good tactics. Even more excessive were the comments full of abusive voices. Clara is just a gold digger, willing to do anything for money. Ethan isn't any good either, stealing his own brother's woman. Such people should be banned by the whole society. Looking at these vicious comments, my hands were trembling. Clara, don't look. Ethan turned off the computer, pulled me into his arms. These are all fake, we know the truth, that's enough. But now everyone is saying this about us. My tears couldn't help but flow. Then let them say, I don't care. Ethan gently stroked my hair. Clara, no matter the storms outside, I'll protect you. But if this continues, it will affect your business. If business is gone, I can start over, but there's only one you. Ethan cupped my face, said seriously, Clara, in my heart, you're more important than anything. At that moment, the doorbell rang. Ethan went to open the door, came back with a very ugly face. Who came? I asked. Anthony. My heart tightened. What is Anthony here for? Soon, Anthony appeared in the living room. He looked much older than last time, his face also bad. Grandpa. Ethan greeted coldly. Ethan, Clara. Anthony glanced at us. We need to talk. Nothing to talk about. Ethan refused. I'm no longer part of the Xiao family. You'll always be my grandson. Anthony sighed. Ethan, I know I wasn't good to you before, but now the rumors online have greatly affected the Xiao family's reputation. So what? I hope you can separate temporarily for a while, wait until the heat dies down. Impossible. Ethan refused without hesitation. Ethan, you have to consider the big picture. What big picture? Ethan sneered. The Xiao family's big picture? Sorry, I'm not interested in the Xiao family's big picture. If you continue like this, not only will you ruin the Xiao family, but also the Chu family. Anthony looked at me. Clara, are you willing to see your parents implicated because of you? My heart tightened. Indeed, the online rumors had also affected the Chu family. My dad's company had already been impacted somewhat. Clara, don't listen to him. Ethan held my hand. I have the ability to protect you and your family. But. No buts. Ethan said firmly, we're husband and wife, we should face all difficulties together. Anthony saw our persistence, his face even uglier. Fine, since you're insistent, don't blame me for being unkind. What do you want to do? Ethan asked vigilantly. I'll publicly announce that the Xiao family severs all ties with you. At the same time, I'll let the entire business world know that Ethan is no longer part of the Xiao family. Do you think I care? You don't care, but Clara will. Anthony smiled sinisterly. An illegitimate child abandoned by his family, worthy of the Chu family's heiress? I stood up angrily. Anthony, please watch your words. Clara, I'm doing this for your own good. Anthony said hypocritically, you're still young, don't ruin your life for a momentary impulse. My life is my own to decide. I said firmly, moreover, Ethan will never be an illegitimate child, he's my husband, the best man in my heart. Anthony was choked by my words, unable to speak. Clara is right. Ethan stood up, eyes burning with anger. Anthony, since you look down on me so much, then we'll see in court. What do you mean? I want to completely acquire the Xiao group, then rename it to Star Group. Ethan sneered, at that time, there really won't be a Xiao family anymore. Antony's face instantly turned pale. You can't do this. Why can't I? Ethan approached step by step. It was you who first announced severing ties with me, so naturally I don't need to consider any family affection. Antony pointed at Ethan with trembling fingers, unable to speak for a long time. Finally, he left in embarrassment. Watching Antony's departing figure, I suddenly felt an indescribable heartache. Brother Ethan, isn't this too ruthless? Clara, being merciful to enemies is cruel to yourself. Ethan held me. I won't let anyone hurt you, including the Xiao family. I leaned in his arms, my mood complex. For me, is Ethan really going to make enemies of the entire Xiao family? The online rumors intensified. Ethan and I almost became public enemies. We didn't dare go out, could only stay at home. Clara, how about we go abroad for our honeymoon? Ethan suggested, come back after the heat dies down. Escaping isn't the way. I shook my head, and I don't want those people to think we're guilty. Then what do you want to do? Respond publicly. I said firmly, I want to tell everyone that I'm with you not because of money, but because of love. Ethan stared at me blankly, eyes full of emotion. Clara, have you really thought it through? Once we respond publicly, there's no turning back. From the moment I married you, I never thought of turning back. I held his hand. Brother Ethan, let's face it together, okay? Okay. Ethan nodded. Then we'll hold a press conference, tell everyone the truth. The press conference was scheduled 3 days later, at the Star Group's building. That day, many reporters came, flashlights flashing nonstop on site. Ethan and I held hands and walked to the stage, facing dozens of cameras below. Dear journalist friends, today's press conference is to clarify some false rumors about me and my wife. Ethan got straight to the point. Immediately, a reporter below raised a hand to ask, Mr. Ethan, is your union with Miss Clara for business interests? No. Ethan said firmly, I married Clara purely because of love. Then how do you explain snatching love at Miss Clara's engagement banquet? I didn't snatch love, I just gave Clara a choice. Ethan looked at me, and she chose me. Miss Clara, did you choose Mr. Ethan because of his wealth? I took a deep breath, stood up. I chose Ethan not because of his money, but because of who he is. But according to our understanding, you and Mr. Jason grew up together, with deep feelings. Deep feelings don't represent love. I interrupted the reporter. I admit, I once tried to fall in love with Jason, but a forced melon isn't sweet. True love can't be forced. Then when did your feelings for Mr. Ethan start? Many years ago, the first time I saw him. I looked at Ethan, eyes full of tenderness. At that time, I knew he was the one I was waiting for. Ethan held my hand tightly, tears glistening in his eyes. Mr. Ethan, there are rumors that you acquired the Xiao group to revenge the Xiao family, is that true? Not entirely. Ethan said frankly, I acquired the Xiao group, first to protect my wife from harm, second to prove my own ability. Do you think the Xiao family's attitude toward you is fair? Whether fair or not isn't important, what's important is that I now have my own home. Ethan looked at me. Clara is my home, my whole world. Applause rang out from below. Last question, what do you want to say to those who doubt your relationship? Ethan and I exchanged a glance, then stood up together. We want to say, love doesn't need to be proven to anyone. Ethan said, we love each other, we got married, we'll be happy for a lifetime. That's enough. Moreover, we'll use time to prove that our love is real. I added. After the press conference, the online sentiment began to shift. Many people were moved by our sincerity and started supporting us. Of course, some still maliciously attacked, but we no longer cared. Clara, do you not regret it? That night, Ethan held me and asked. Regret what? Bearing so much pressure for me. Silly. I nuzzled in his arms. Loving someone means bearing everything. This is what I willingly do. Ethan held me tightly, his voice somewhat choked. Clara, meeting you is the luckiest thing in my life. Me too. I closed my eyes, feeling his warmth. Brother Ethan, I love you. I love you too, forever. Just when I thought everything would calm down, Jason appeared again. This time he wasn't here to entangle, but to apologize. Clara, I'm sorry. Jason stood at our door, looking haggard. This period I was too extreme, did many wrong things. I was a bit surprised. Jason, you. I figured it out. Jason smiled bitterly. You were right, a forced melon isn't sweet. I shouldn't force you to love me. Ethan looked at him vigilantly. What do you want to say? I want to say, I'm letting go. Jason looked at us. Clara, I wish you happiness. After saying that, he turned to leave. Wait. I called him. Jason, what about Bianca? Jason's body stiffened. She's with someone else. I was stunned. No wonder Jason was so haggard. Sorry, I didn't know. It's okay. Jason waved his hand. This is karma. I betrayed you, now she betrayed me. Watching Jason's lonely back, my heart was filled with mixed feelings. Clara, what are you thinking? Ethan asked. I'm thinking, if I hadn't chosen you back then, what would it be like now? Ethan's face changed instantly. Do you regret it? No, I don't regret it. I quickly explained, I just feel that life is really wonderful. One choice can change the entire trajectory of life. Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I thought you. Thought I what? I asked curiously. Thought you pitied Jason and wanted to go back to him. Ethan said, somewhat embarrassed. I couldn't help but laugh. Ethan, when did you become so insecure? Because you're too important to me. Ethan said seriously, I'm afraid of losing you. Then listen well. I kept his face, said word by word, Clara, in this lifetime love only Ethan, through life and death. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes, he excitedly kissed me. A month later, the acquisition case of the Xiao Group settled. Ethan successfully acquired 70% of the Xiao Group's shares, becoming the absolute controlling shareholder. Anthony was completely defeated. Jason also lost his inheritance rights. Now how do you want to handle the Xiao Group? I asked Ethan. Rename it to Star Group, then merge with my company. Ethan said indifferently, as for Anthony and Jason, leave them some shares to ensure their livelihood. Don't you hate them? I hated them, but not now. Ethan held me, because if not for their forcing, I might never have had the courage to confess to you. So, bad things can turn into good things? Yes, as long as the result is good, the pain in the process is worth it. Half a year later, we held a grand wedding. The entire ceremony was at the seaside, inviting all relatives and friends. When I walked toward Ethan in my wedding dress, his eyes were full of tears. Clara, you're so beautiful. He said, choking up. Then you have to cherish me well. I said playfully. I will, with my whole life. When exchanging rings, Ethan whispered in my ear, Clara, thank you for choosing me. Silly, I should thank you for giving me courage. I replied. When the pastor announced we were officially husband and wife, the whole venue erupted in enthusiastic applause. I saw Jason below also applauding for us, although there was reluctance in his eyes, but more was blessing. At that moment, I suddenly understood what letting go means. True love isn't possession, but blessing. Post-wedding life was sweet and peaceful. Ethan handed most of the business to professional managers, focusing on accompanying me. Don't you think this is too wasteful? I asked, leaning in his arms. Such a big company, and you just let go like that? Money enough to spend is fine, accompanying you is more important. Ethan gently stroked my hair. Clara, I want a child. My face instantly turned red. We've only been married half a year. Time isn't the issue. Ethan smirked. I want a daughter as beautiful as you. What if it's a son? Then a son as handsome as me. I was amused by him. You really are narcissistic. I'm just stating facts. Ethan said seriously. Just as we were discussing children, Jason suddenly visited. Clara, brother Ethan, sorry to disturb. Jason looked much better spirited. I have good news to tell you. What good news? I asked curiously. I'm getting married. Jason said smiling, the other party is a very good girl, we're very suitable. I was stunned, then genuinely happy for him. Congratulations. Thank you. Jason looked at us. Also, I want to invite you to my wedding. Ethan and I exchanged a glance, both seeing surprise in each other's eyes. Are you sure? Ethan asked. Sure. Jason nodded. Let the past be past, we should all look forward. Finally, we agreed to Jason's invitation. At his wedding, I saw that girl. She was very beautiful, more importantly, her gaze at Jason was very gentle. Looks like they're very much in love. I said to Ethan. Yes. Ethan nodded, perhaps this ending is the best for everyone. After the wedding, Jason came over to say goodbye. Clara, thank you. He said sincerely, if not for your rejection, I would never understand what true love is. No need to thank me, finding true love is your fortune. I sincerely blessed him. Jason looked at Ethan, brother Ethan, before I was too immature, hope you can forgive me. It's all in the past. Ethan patted his shoulder, cherish your wife well from now on. I will. Jason nodded, then turned and left. Watching him and his new wife walk away hand in hand, I was filled with emotions. What's wrong? Ethan asked. I'm thinking, if I hadn't had the courage to leave back then, what would it be like now? Then there wouldn't be us now. Ethan held me, so, courage is the most precious quality. Yes, if not for that day's courage, we might never be together. Then do you regret now? Of course not. I tiptoed and kissed him, being with you is the most correct decision I've made in my life. After returning home, Ethan suddenly looked at me very seriously. Clara, let's have a child too. Now? Now. Ethan nodded, I want a child of ours, to witness our love. My heart beat fast, my face turned very red. Okay. I said softly. That night, for the first time, we had no protection. 3 months later, I found out I was pregnant. Looking at the 2 lines on the pregnancy test, I was so excited that tears came out. Brother Ethan. I rushed out of the bathroom, I'm pregnant. Ethan was handling files in the study, stunned upon hearing my words, then ecstatically rushed over to hug me. Really? His voice trembled with excitement. Really? I showed him the pregnancy test, we're going to have a child. Ethan held me carefully, eyes full of tears. Clara, thank you. He said choking up, thank you for giving me a complete home. Silly, this is our child, I should thank you too. In the following 9 months, Ethan took care of me meticulously. He quit all unnecessary work, focused on accompanying me. Every day he varied the nutritious meals for me, and personally accompanied me to prenatal checkups. Don't you think it's too troublesome? I was a bit embarrassed. How could taking care of you and our child be troublesome? Ethan gently stroked my belly, this is my happiest time. When the child was in my belly, Ethan started talking to him. Baby, I'm daddy, be good, don't make mommy too tired. Baby, daddy loves you so much, and loves mommy too. Baby, come out quickly, daddy can't wait to see you. Every time I heard Ethan speak like this, I would be moved to tears. This man, how can he be so gentle? 10 months later, our daughter Alma was born. She was very beautiful, eyes like Ethan, mouth like me. When Ethan held her for the first time, his hands trembled with excitement. Clara, look at her, she's smiling at me. Ethan held his daughter carefully, eyes full of fatherly love. She's still so small, she can't smile. I said weakly, but my face was full of happy smiles. She must be welcoming daddy. Ethan insisted. From that day on, Ethan became a standard daughter slave. As soon as the daughter cried, he got extremely nervous, getting up at night to change diapers and feed milk, never letting me do it. Brother Ethan, if you continue like this, you'll exhaust yourself. I said heartbroken. Not tired at all. Ethan held the daughter, coaxing her to sleep. Clara, you rest well, leave the rest to me. Watching the warm scene of father and daughter, my heart was full of happiness. This is the life I wanted, simple and beautiful. When our daughter was 3, Jason and his wife also had a child. We occasionally had meals together with the kids. The 2 little ones played very happily. Didn't expect we all ended up with such good outcomes. Jason said emotionally. Yes, life is really wonderful. I looked at our daughter playing. Sometimes what you think is the end is actually a new beginning. Clara, thank you for your rejection back then. Jason said sincerely, if not for you, I would never meet my current wife. No need to thank me, this is the happiness you deserve. I said, smiling. Ethan held me. Everyone will meet the person who belongs to them, it's just a matter of time. Well said. Jason nodded, we all met the right person. That night on the way home, Ethan suddenly asked me, Clara, do you remember that afternoon 10 years ago? Which afternoon? The afternoon of your 15th birthday, feeding goldfish in the garden. I remember, that was the most beautiful dusk I've seen. I recalled, but I didn't expect you were there too. I was watching you from afar, thinking this girl is so beautiful. Ethan said gently, from then on, I knew I liked you. Then why didn't you tell me earlier? Because I felt I wasn't worthy of you. Ethan smiled bitterly, an illegitimate child, what right to like the Chu family's heiress? But now you know, in my heart, you've always been the best. I held his hand, Brother Ethan, meeting you is the luckiest thing in my life. Me too. Ethan stopped the car, looked at me affectionately, Clara, I love you. I love you too, forever. The sun set in the west, our shadows stretched very long. Our daughter slept quietly in the back seat, her little face rosy. At this moment, I felt I was the happiest woman in the world. The road of life isn't always smooth, but as long as with the right person, even the toughest road becomes easy. I'm glad I had the courage to lead back then, even more glad Ethan gave me the chance to choose again. Now we have love, children, each other, what could be more perfect? 5 years later, we had our second child, this time a son. Ethan joked, now my life is complete, with wife, daughter, and son. What about me? I pretended to be jealous. You. Ethan kissed my forehead, you're my whole world,